Thanks, Matt. I think he covered a couple things that I was going to cover. Very proud, let me start by saying, of our coaching staff, who I thought did a great job this past year. And really that dates back to probably a little past 2 years from when this process for this signing class really began, as these kids were entering their junior season, some maybe even before, when you start to identify them in games at your area schools that you recruit. Our coaches did a phenomenal job of identifying guys, and more importantly, getting guys to camps. And that's how we do our recruiting more than anything, is by not only the evaluation process of identifying on film, getting to know them at their schools, but it is getting our guys to camp so we can work with those guys one-on-one. Just about everybody of the entire 24, with the exception of Stephen Coots from Australia, we didn't get him to camp, and one or two more, every other one of these guys were at our camps where we could evaluate them, get true times, true measurements, and have a chance to see what they can do and see how they competed. And that's the thing that has allowed us for the last 4 classes previously to really do a great job of reducing the number of misses, because these are thorough evaluations, and it's not just going off of film. A lot of times we've been in some big battles this last 24 to 48 hours with a lot of schools from the Pac-10, Big 12 at the last second trying to come in on our guys. Lost 2, but also held on to a bunch. But that's the key, is they don't do they don't get these guys to camp, and that's why so many of these guys go off to school, don't make it, don't work out, then they end up transferring back home, where we don't have those misses because we do such thorough evaluation. So really proud of our staff. Thought it was a great signing class. This is the future of our football program, and everybody's trying to decide how good this class is, how do they rank up, and how they stack up, and how they're going to rank, in the following days. I go back to our first signing class. When we first got here, we took the job, and we only had 3 weeks to recruit before signing date, and we ended up signing Alonzo Harris, Justin Hamilton, Christian, Ringo, and on and on and on. And so to me, you rate a signing class their senior season. And so we'll know much more about this class in 4 to 5 years, and time will tell. It's all fun to speculate, and that's the fun part about it right now. But I saw a tweet a while ago from one of the NFL players that's well known, and he talked about, all right, now the press conference is over, stars don't mean a thing anymore. Who's going to show up to work? Who's going to be accountable? Who's going to get their work done in the classroom to be able to stay on the field? And so that's the challenge for the next 4 or 5 years for these guys, is all that's over, and now it's time to get to work and see what you can do to help our football program, help Ragin Cajun Nation. We did feel like we did meet just about all of our needs. We signed 5 offensive linemen. We signed 3 receivers, including a slot receiver that we wanted to sign, 3 DBs. Where it says athletes, 2 of those 3 athletes at least will be out, or will be linebackers. So you're really looking at 4 linebackers, a tight end, 2 quarterbacks, a kicker, punter, 1 D lineman. Where we feel like we still got a little work left to do, we were very selective this year in our D-line process. Missed on a few because we really shot our sights very high. If you look at what we've played with in the last few years, we've played with really good defensive linemen. And so obviously when we sign this next group, they're going to have to be as good or better than what we've had. And we just feel like we still are in that mode of searching for that next Christian Ringo or Justin Hamilton, or guys that can be even better. And so we still probably 1 short there, and probably 1 offensive line short, maybe 1 corner short, and we've still got some room to where if we find someone we think can be a difference maker, we still might pull the trigger between now and August. So, and those might be, obviously, those would be junior college transfers if we went down that road. But really feel great about our class. It's great that we already have 5 guys enrolled that are going through our workouts. As a matter of fact, we had a 5:30 morning workout this morning. Guys are working extremely hard. It was a great day with the workouts, and then signing day, and then tonight the signing day bash on campus at our new student union. It's going to be a lot of fun as we unveil the future of our football program. So with that, I'll open up any questions.
Obviously, you find out the impact of the classes down the road, but just right now, you know, on a year-to-year basis, being in this position, just gut feeling, what do these recruits feel like compared to the ones you brought in the past?
You know, for one thing, the way we've taken a different approach in recruiting offensive linemen. Our first couple of years, we couldn't get in the living room of some of the top linemen we wanted to recruit, so we had to sign some guys that may be developmental kids, a little bit light, that you had to come in and develop. Well, if you look at the guys we've signed this year, we may have to take a little weight off of them. So we've really gotten much bigger on the offensive line. We've got some guys up front right here that, for what we do, I think are going to be outstanding. I think this could be one of the best offensive line classes that we have signed. Large, they're long, they're tough, they move well, and they're good people. So I really like what we've done in that aspect.
As far as what you saw and the assistant coaches saw, I know the recruiting services say what they say, but anyone you think really may have been a little overlooked that you really like a lot as a sleeper type guy?
Well, if, you know, you go back and you look at the roster, we love all our guys on this sheet. I think they're all going to be difference makers, but there's one guy that, if you notice, doesn't have any stars, and that's Robert Hunt. And he's a guy that we evaluated at camp. He was the only camp, we were the only camp that he came to. And it was sort of like nobody ever found out about him until too late. And once everybody found out, about 24 hours before signing day, it was a little too late. And this kid's going to be an outstanding player. He's got a great mom and dad who really care about him. And I think he is one of those guys that you look and say, hey, you know, we don't see a lot of asterisks beside his name, but you go back, and if you want to have the tail of the tape, you look at the Super Bowl. You know how many 5 stars were on either roster at the Super Bowl? 0. And so that just goes to show you what the stars are worth. And so that's just all fun. But when it gets down to it, who can play the game, who can get the job done, who can work hard, who can be accountable, who can be good people in your program. Way more to it than just stars, and unfortunately that's all the services measure is just ability. Don't measure toughness, don't measure determination, character, all those type of things, academic capabilities that can keep them eligible for 5 years. So they miss out on 80% of the whole deal, and that's why it's such an imperfect science with the star category, although we signed a lot of 3 stars that we're really proud of. But nevertheless, I really like this class.
Coach, talk a little bit about the process. Obviously, you got some offensive line in the position that you stacked up really well in last year's class. You came back with this class, added to that. So some of these kids, most of these kids are probably redshirt, but then you went out and you got some kids, Mario Osborne, Michael Jaquette, you know, Keenan Barnes. These are some kids that you brought in with thinking, hey, they do what we think they're going to do. They're going to be able to participate right away.
And you probably named 3 that could participate right away. All 3 of those guys are very long, tall. I think have developed into really good players, but they're athletic enough, and they played the positions that could help you now. I think some of the outside backers, corners, some of those guys can play early. Wide receivers can play early, and so I definitely think that there is quite a number of guys on this group that could play early and that are going to make contributions. But you never know. Last year with the class that we had, you know, we never really knew that some of those guys were going to play, like DeVorce Lee, as early as he played, and was he effective as he was. So you never know. Time will tell when these guys get into camp and get into this summer, and how they develop over the summer, and how they develop when we put the pads on.
Dion Ray, I see, is a mid-year enrollee from Helen Cox. What are your expectations for him coming in as a freshman? Will he be able to play next year, you think?
Well, you know, that's an advantage for coming in early. Then you look at Kevin Fuqua, he did the same thing. Came in early, got to participate that first year, and so I think, you know, that can happen for him too. You know, he's a quarterback that, you know, is very fast, can run. You know, even at the worst case, you utilize his kid in a wildcat situation or something where you can utilize his talents on the field, because he's very fast, very elusive. And so, you know, when you've got that type of athletic ability, you can help your team somewhere, and hopefully sooner than later.
How JUCO? So what does that do to speak to the depth of what you have now?
You know, that's what our program is all about. It's about player development, and we've never signed a lot of junior college players. only kids that we feel like that we've identified that fit our mold, that can survive our program, that can give us immediate help. And so we build our team with high school players, with the exception of 1 or 2 when we need them. But this was the least we probably have signed, because we feel like we do have quality depth coming back. But also, when you get to see a great high school player who could develop into a great player, and then a junior college player that's somewhat maxed out, you tend to want to go with a high school player that has a large upside.
I guess you guys have emphasized, obviously, getting out to different states and recruiting guys from there, but getting the 3, looks like guys you got from this area, Ethan, Stevie, Cole, just kind of talk about them and what their contributions could be.
Well, those guys really stood out at camp, and those guys were thoroughly evaluated in the negative part of being close by the university, of whichever university that you live close to. You really get over-evaluated sometimes, because sometimes you can find out too much stuff about prospects or recruits, and because you get to see them too much, hear too much, you have them at camp all the time. But Stevie is a guy that will be able to compete right away for the starting kicker position. Ethan Rose demonstrated to us he is one tough competitor. He's got a goal, and when you talk to him and his father, he is a determined young man who's got a great skill set that never came off the field there at Northside. And then obviously Cole, to me, is a center that I think is going to be an outstanding player and a leader. And what was the other one?
Those are the 3 I actually saw.
Yeah, and then Cole. I think he's going to be a guy that could play early, could be that. We've had 2 really good centers these last 2 years, and we definitely think he's in that same mold as what we have had.
Coach, you got a guy like Stevie who's right down the road, and he loves the school, and he always wanted to come here. It kind of seems like there was nobody else in the fold there. What's it like recruiting a guy like that, where it's just this is where he wants to be, and you know it from the get-go?
Well, that's really good, especially when he's got other opportunities and people are fishing for him and seeing if he's got any interest anywhere else, and he keeps turning them down, and people are wanting him to come take a look, and he's wanting to, he's a Ragin Cajun, and that's the difference. When you've got kids that love where they are, and you've got true Ragin Cajuns. And he, to me, I love Stevie because he reminds me of Stover. I mean, he loves the weight room. He's not your typical kicker, man. He may take up for Stover, where he runs down and leads the league in tackles as a kicker. He's a one tough little cookie, and I think he's going to be an exceptional player.
What about Hunt really made you look at him at the camp, and why did people not see what you saw?
Well, because he never got to camp. We're the only camp he came to, and he played at a 1A school, small school over in East Texas. That's way out in the country, hard to get to. And but the kid came to camp, and we didn't know anything about him. Great job by our coaching staff getting him to camp, and then once he got here, was able to see his abilities and see his potential, and his upside is through the ceiling. And any kid that walks in here 6'6", 310, that plays basketball, averages 25 points a game in basketball, I think has got a large upside.
Mark, is it my imagination, or does it just seem like this year you were competing against the bigger conferences in almost every position?
We have been, and when you do that, and we're taking this a whole nother level, and just like you see all day long with other universities, they losing some at the last second. People are flipping them back and forth. That's part of the battle. But when you do win one of those, then you've got a difference maker. And you don't win them unless you try to win them. And that's the thing that we really took a different approach to this year, was the type of athlete we recruited. And then when we didn't get what we wanted, we didn't just settle and take what was left. For instance, at the D-line position, would have loved to take another one. But the ones that we really wanted didn't get, and then the ones that we could have maybe beat some other people on, didn't like as much. And so that's why we're going to be patient, because we have been successful because we've had a quality defensive line and quality quarterback play. And when you have both of those in college football, you've got a chance to win. Chris Weaver, on the other hand, at the quarterback position, will be that quarterback that leads us in the future. He's an outstanding, tough kid that can run and throw. So he's just going to add to what I call, I think our stable of quarterbacks is extremely deep with the 3 we have now, 4 counting Dion, and now fifth one with Chris Weaver.
What does it say about your program when the battles that you are losing, you're losing to those big Power 5 schools, and you're not losing kids to other Sun Belt schools or Conference USA schools?
Well, that, to me, that's hopefully where our program is going, and I think they see obviously the direction of our program, not just the success we've had in the last 4 years. I think they see the future of our program, and that's being built right outside. And even next year, the dynamics will even change even more when we're able to show them more than really a mud hole, and because that's all that's outside right now. And we're trying to tell them what it looks like, but that's really hard to do. Everybody's got good imaginations, but it's hard to visualize that hole out there, what it's going to be here in about 6 months. So next year, when we walk these new kids through there, it will be a different dynamic, and we'll continue taking those steps each year to improve our program. So that's exciting.
Who were a few guys that you felt like were kind of the biggest gets, like the most exciting ones for you to hear from?
I don't know. I would say all these guys. It's hard to just pick out one guy on this sheet and say he's the biggest get, because I'm really proud we have all these guys. Each one of these guys we would not have signed this year, and we had a lot of players that we went round and round on and then just did not go on because we just felt like that what we needed to take it another step just didn't quite fit. And sometimes based on needs of positions, maybe you're too deep at one position and you don't need to take this position. And so the recruiting dynamics are awfully difficult, but I would hate to just call out one guy, because all these guys are, I think, are really good players.
Well, but who maybe is like one or two or however many other guys that you're most concerned about losing a Power 5 team that you ended up being able to keep over the circumstances?
Ooh, yeah. Well, you look at Gary Haynes, who a lot of guys jumped on him late, tried to flip him, but he's the kind of guy that you can tell he's a loyal guy. When he came on our camp, and he got that Ragin Cajun hat after he committed it, and when he left, he was in the boat. With Keenan Barnes and Michael Jaquette is another kid that's had multiple, the Power 5 offers. And you go down the line and you look at how it was in the last couple of days with Robert Hunt, when it really started breaking loose with him. Those are the battles that we're really proud that we won. The Joe Dillons of the world, Kevin Dotson. There's a lot of moving parts with all these kids, and I'm just proud that we've landed, I think, an outstanding class. I'm really proud of all of them.
Reed Stringer and the rest of the staff, y'all have a pretty good idea of the walk-on situation, Coach. Is it looking good?
No question. We're all now. That's really the next phase, because of all the guys that you wanted to offer but couldn't quite offer based on numbers, based on what you have coming back. Then you identify the guys that you want to invite to be walk-ons to your program. We already return a lot of walk-ons, so the opportunity to walk on is almost a big offer as an offer, because you only have about 10 walk-on spots available, and so we're very selective in those also. And so it'll be interesting in the next few weeks to see who we can get to fill in those shoes, because we want to try to beat some other schools that they might could go to at lower levels and get them to walk on here, and because those guys play a pivotal role also.
Can you clear up exactly what's going on with Jarrell Brazil? I know a couple of people had him listed as part of your class, but
Yeah, he is strictly track right now, and he is not involved with football at any level, workouts or training. Once track is over, it's my understanding he wants to give football a shot, which obviously he'd be able to do that, because he's very talented young man, very fast. So we'll sort of cross that bridge when we get there, but I have not had any in-depth discussions with him about that yet, but we're hoping that's going to happen. All right, thanks guys, appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.